Corey Gore Christ, DIEnecology podcast. We have here today Chase of Terminal Nation. I'm excited to talk to you, man. Thanks for showing interest in coming on today, and how you doing?
Oh, doing wonderful, doing wonderful. I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah. And Echoes of the Devil's Den came out May 3rd, a few days ago on 20 bucks spin. Definitely check it out. It's a killer fucking record, man. Been a fan of you guys for a while, so this is really cool. 20 bucks spin's a great label. They have so many good bands
Oh
on
yeah.
there. So definitely check out their shit. And before we get into the blood and guts and what we do here, we'll just do, we'll ease into it lightly. We'll just talk about the band a little bit and what you guys have been up to, and talk a little bit about the record. You guys got shows coming up, and whatever you want to talk about with the Terminal Nation camp, and let's go from there.
No, for sure. So my name's Chase. I play bass and backup vocals in Terminal Nation. We've been a band since 2014.
Yeah, yeah,
It kind of started as a punk band, and
yeah,
we've kind of evolved over time
yeah,
into what we are now. So I guess uh, it's been a huge discourse on Twitter lately as to what type of genre we are. So
yeah.
there's quite a few death metal elitists that aren't too happy with us right now, but it is what it is.
Death metal
So when
elitists
people
are
ask,
never happy.
no, they're not. The moment you have more than 100 monthly listeners, they're over you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right.
I when people ask about us, I mean, really, I say we're a hardcore death metal influenced band. The ethos of the band has always been very much rooted in punk,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think that shows in the music. Everybody in the band is very much different backgrounds
yeah.
of music. That it's kind of like me commenting on this particular podcast was kind of like I know the least amount about death metal, but I probably know the most about death. So it's kind of
Hey,
like one of those things where it's like, all right,
that's
I
enough.
think we're gonna have him do this. So like I listen to predominantly like metallic hardcore.
Yeah,
Our drummer, he literally plays in a pop synth band. Uh,
that's
Me and the other
amazing.
guitar player play a metallic hardcore band.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
all in all, we come together to write, in my opinion, which is the funnest music we've ever written.
absolutely.
So
Well, fuck yeah, man. Like again, appreciate you coming on and showing interest on the death side of things, as far as, the themes of the record and everything like that, talk about a little bit about some of the songs here for Echoes of the Devil's Den, so we can catch up on that. So whatever songs, I mean, won't have time really to do like a track by track, but we can definitely go over some of
no, for sure.
the themes of the record here.
So I think the majority of the themes, I would say, even like the stuff that I guess you could say is more on the brutal, gory side, things like that. A
Sure.
lot of our music is definitely more literal in the
Yeah.
sense of kind of like I don't know the imagination of death metal that you would see through like bands like Dying Fetus and Cannibal Corpse, things like that, where like
Absolutely.
a lot of our stuff is very much like rooted in this path of like what's going on relevant in the world right now
Yeah.
and amongst ourselves. This was the first time as in the band that we had written some music, I guess, rooted in our own trauma, our own
Hmm.
issues, and things like that. That we had everything else up to this point has always been about the general mass,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I guess like a lot of the stuff that we write is definitely more literal, and I wouldn't even say so much gory as much as it
Right.
is just real. Even the stuff that is, I guess you could say, like written by the victor, things
Yeah.
like that, where it's literally talking about cutting off heads and literally writing the history in the blood of basically the defeated people.
Yeah.
All that stuff is like rooted in a truth that is very literal, but you could also go figurative, I guess you could say.
Sure.
Just talking about even in our home state of Arkansas being a left leaning band,
Yeah.
that the politicians get to write the rules and regulations that they want based off of the downfalls of the minorities and the most marginalized people here in the state. And so
Absolutely.
even the stuff that is, and then I guess you could say even things like Dying Alive, which is probably
Hmm.
my favorite song on the album,
Yeah, that one's sick.
where it's not gory. It is very much talking about dying the entire time,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
that particular
yeah,
song is it was a special song for both Stan and I because we had both been through quite a bit of trauma over the last 2 years
yeah, yeah,
throughout the course of writing the record.
yeah,
Uh, in 20, trying to think, in 2022, I was in a really bad car wreck.
yeah.
I had been hit at an intersection, car flipped 4 times, threw me through the windshield,
Mm.
landed on top of me, and dragged me down the street. And
It's rough. I'm glad you're okay. I mean, obviously, but
I survived. I
yeah.
literally, I guess adrenaline kicked in.
Mm.
I pushed the vehicle off of me, stood up and walked
Wow.
to the ambulance. And granted, I had this long laundry list of issues I had with me after the fact, but it
Sure.
was the whole song itself is kind of rooted along the experience of going through something that statistically kills almost everybody that happens to,
Yeah, exactly.
but then the guilt involved with surviving something that you're like, good people
Yeah.
die
Yeah.
and I didn't die.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Now, was it a situation where the guy ran a red light, or was it, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an older lady. She
Oh,
wasn't paying
okay.
attention. She was on her phone.
Yeah.
I think she was 80 years old, and she
On her
she
phone driving.
hit my
Wow.
right back tire, and I drove a Kia Soul at the time,
Yeah.
and it literally looked like a dice game with God, man. He just rolled that thing.
That's why I always call Kias, killed in accident, what it stands for. So I try to
You're
stay away from
fucking
those
not
cars.
wrong. Holy shit!
But you didn't. You survived it, and you look good. The last couple years, I'd
Thank
say. But
you.
how, you know, and I've been in a few car accidents myself. None. I've only been in one like decently bad one, but the trauma is there. Especially when you drive now, you become so much more of like a defensive driver more than you used
Oh,
to be.
no shit, dude.
And
Even like whenever we're on tour and like we're
yeah,
typically like in this shuttle van that people use
hmm
for like airports,
yeah, yeah,
and a guy converted it. And so like I'm like sitting just like with my hand on the luggage rack, just looking down the entire time. I'm like, all right, if I don't acknowledge it, then we're
yeah.
good.
With the oh shit handles, you got to have the
Exactly.
yeah. Well, and it never goes away. And I actually, it's funny because whenever we were getting this interview set up, and um they had mentioned what you wanted to actually talk about, which I usually don't get a lot of insight. We just kind of go into it, but
For sure.
you actually were like, this is what I had happen. I would love to talk about it. I really appreciate you opening up and wanting to talk about it. It's very cool. Um, and it's good to talk about things like that. I think not a lot of people just do. But I actually wrecked my car like a couple weeks ago. Um, and then I got that. I was like, well, this has been a recent theme in my life, so we'll talk about it. Obviously I'm okay. It wasn't a bad wreck. I took a wide turn and slammed into the front of an apartment complex, like pillar.
Fuck.
Yeah, just I mean, my car was
You're good
actually,
though.
yeah, yeah. The airbags didn't deploy. It was mostly on the right side that it got hit, and I think I forget what it was. It bent something where it would have been total, but we probably could have fixed the car. It wasn't. That's probably my like least damage I've seen on a car that I've considered that they totaled out. But all's good with that, and I'm fortunate that it didn't end up a lot worse.
No, for sure.
But yeah, I've been in a few accidents, and it's just even if it's not crazy, you still have that mindset in your head, and you're a lot more cautious. And um, the one bad one I did get into, I was in the left lane. I had just gotten, squeezed into the turn lane, but like some of my wheel was still sticking out of the lane. And I heard like tires screeching behind me, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And before I knew it, like I got hit from behind, like from a car. So anytime I hear screeching now, and that was like years ago, I still like kind of like
Oh,
tense
you're
up a
like
little bit.
heads on a swivel.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
the problem is that a lot of times, when you have that car wreck, and it's I think it's a lasting ramifications too on both the
Yeah.
physical and like the physical and the mental side of things. So like for me, like I'm 100% now, but it was just like we
Yeah.
were
Good.
super uncertain at the time.
Yeah.
I and granted for my issue, I my list of injuries was not as big as it should have been. I
Right.
tore my rotator cuff, my interspinalia, my pectoral,
Mm.
my ACL, MCL, the ligaments in my left foot, and I think they said 70% of my back was covered in third-degree road rash from my back to my ass.
Damn.
And so there was just like this period of just like, all right, so what's going to happen? And like a lot of those
Yeah.
injuries we didn't even know until after my road rash had healed because
Yeah. You
you're
can't.
focusing, your body's focusing on my nerves are exposed.
Yeah.
And like the bad part is I'm self-employed. So it's like the
Yeah.
doctor's like, hey, you need to take 2 months off. You need to do physical therapy. And I'm like, I hear you, but I gotta get back to work. So I think I was out of
Yeah.
work for 2 weeks, and they were like, hey, we don't know. Like we're hopeful, but we don't know. We know you're not dying, which is
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
but we don't know what the quality of life will be past this point. We don't
Right.
know if you'll be able to play music. We don't know if you'll be able to pick up your kids. And like
Yeah.
that's a very tough thing to go through. And
Yeah.
I shit you not, a month later, I played a fest with termination, and the
Nice.
doctors are like, "You shouldn't be doing this, but we're amazed that you are. So just fucking have a good time.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so just know your
considering
limitations."
considering what you survived, that you were able to do that in a month is pretty astounding.
Oh,
So
and like that, and that was like the easy thing. Like, all right, having a mindset like I want to do this, but
yeah.
it was just like I said, that laundry list of things that happened past that point. So I went. Ambulances bring you to wherever the fuck they want to bring you. So
Yeah.
whoever's closest, that's where you're going to. The closest
Yep.
one was a teaching hospital
Wow.
where you literally have to sign like a you
Mm.
will not sue us if we kill you as soon as you get there.
Sound like an
And
NDA.
and, and I'm just like covered in blood. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just signing away. Well, they had a first month resident do the staples throughout my chest, got an
Mm.
infection near my heart,
Holy
and
shit.
they put me on about 4 or 5 different antibiotics, two or three
Yeah.
different steroids, and it messed up the lining of my stomach,
Mm.
which caused esophageal erosion. So now I
Yeah.
have to get tested for throat cancer every year for like the next 3 years as that starts to heal. So it was like even the things that had nothing to do with
Yeah.
a wreck were just like this shapes the course of the rest of your life.
Yeah, and the healing process just had even more complications that just happened, which are unexpected. So, like you said,
I
wow.
and as bad as that stuff sucked, I think that it helped us write a better record because this
Yeah,
happened throughout. Like we were writing a record and we had the trajectory of the direction we were going. There were songs we were writing,
sure.
and then this happened, and it was just like, all right, we need to hit pause for a second and figure out
Yeah,
what we're gonna do. And I'm just like, no, we don't. We need to write. Like we
yeah,
need to take all this emotion that everyone's feeling because like there's bands that are like people that just play music. Like
sure.
I have been best friends with everybody that's in this band for probably close to 15 years.
It's awesome. Yeah,
And so it's like these were people that were like, oh, if he doesn't play with us, we're just done. We're not
yeah,
replacing this. Like
yeah,
this is done. And so we just use that momentum to write music. And I think ultimately it just like literally it influenced the title track of the
yeah,
record, which was The Echoes of the Devil's Den, of course,
yeah,
which is basically it touches on basically going all the way to the gates of the depths of hell
yeah,
and rising from that
yeah,
and saying, hey, look, we're better and stronger for it.
yeah.
And so overall, you can take that trauma and
Hmm.
use it for positivity, even though you're writing negative music, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's I like to call it like a catch-22 thing. It's like negative positivity. So you take
Yeah,
something that's something like themes of death or surviving death or just in general violent stuff like that, and you're putting it into a medium where it can be understood and more, because we all have to face this kind of shit at some point. Hopefully never like what you faced, but it could happen at any time. It's not a planned thing. It's going to happen, or it could very well happen at any point in time. So you kind of have to be open minded to that and to reality and morbidity and all that. So I love the
100%.
medium of death metal and just metal in general, and being able to put these dark themes in a positive light where we can all just kind of like bang our heads and smile about it. And it's not like
I think
we want it
there's
to be a thing. We have to
for
cope with
sure.
it, and there's people that tap into it the way we do, where we're just like, yeah, I love this shit. It's
I think that it's a medium that allows you to write about things that are very taboo in
Yeah.
any other type of music, from
Yeah.
pop music to rap to country to even just
Yeah.
regular rock,
Yeah.
and even the themes that you would see within like just hardcore or punk.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, here you can write a song about taking your life,
Yeah.
and you might not mean like, "Hey, I'm going to kill myself right now,"
It's perspective.
but you can be writing from a perspective of, "I was in a place
Yeah.
that was dark,"
Mm.
and like when I hear that, other people might go, "Well, that's fucking crazy. I don't,
Yeah.
that's too much." But to somebody that has like been through something like that, last year I'd been on Celexa and Wellbutrin for about
Okay.
7 years,
Yeah. Well,
and
Butrin didn't do well with me.
last year I came off of it, and
Good.
the doctors were like, "You shouldn't do that.
Mm.
Wellbutrin you can come off of. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Celexa." I didn't realize I was talking. I'm a barber, and we were
Okay.
talking to one of the clients in the shop who's a psychiatrist, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Dude, we never prescribe Celexa." I'm like,
Mm.
"What?" He's like, "It's a Hail Mary drug. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like saying like nothing else has worked. Here's this drug with the worst side effects, but if it keeps you from being in a bad place, we'll give it to you."
Sure.
And the problem is my PCP doesn't know shit about that. Like, there's no
Yeah.
reason that like a general doctor can just write you prescriptions that will change
Yeah.
like the course of your life. And so they go, "Hey, you don't need to come off this."
Hmm.
And I said, "Okay." And I left and I never took another one.
Yeah.
But the problem was, is that it is a medication that you become dependent on.
Yeah.
And most people that come off of it get what's called serotonin deficiency disorder.
Yep.
And the crazy thing about it is, correct me if I'm wrong. And in case it is like, in case it's not like public knowledge, I won't
Yeah.
say the name of the vocalist, but there was a vocalist in a prolific metal band that committed suicide,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I believe that's the medication he came off of
Oh,
whenever he
okay.
did.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
know.
so I
Yeah.
went through literally the darkest moment of my life I'd ever been in,
Yeah.
and it was just like the doctors are literally like, you need to talk to somebody daily. Like you need to have people that are on your team ready to talk to you at any moment because
Yeah.
you are about to experience the darkest moments of your life.
Damn.
And I was like, okay, whatever, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then
Whatever.
you look it up, and it's like the side effects of withdrawing from Celexa take about 28 days to get over versus the normal 14 days.
Mm.
And the side effects are like withdrawing from heroin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just like I had the flu, I was shaking, I was cold, I was just tired and lethargic. And now I'm past that. I know I'm the best I've ever been emotionally in my entire life.
Good. Good.
But it was very difficult to get past that point. So when I hear bands that are willing to push the boundaries and talk about like things that are just so obscene,
Yeah.
it's like I get that. I
Yeah.
empathize with that. That I feel good knowing that like people that I look up to know what it's like to be real people.
Yeah. And everyone has we're born with very complex set of emotions, and they can change over time, and they can be influenced by a lot of things. Um, but just the way we handle those situations, and everyone's perspective's different, and the art we do is subjective too, and people can
Oh
interpret
yeah.
things differently and apply it to themselves, which is also the beauty of music. Um, but I think this form of expression and being able to have a channel to talk about it in the way that like a lot of people, if you see outside looking in, don't understand metal or death metal or whatever, um, you see it as like glorifying it or anything like that. It's really just expressing it in general. Everyone has thoughts. You get, I mean, maybe it's just me. You know, but you have moments where you can be so like mad at somebody, where you're like, uh, I would, you know, blow his head off or something.
Oh
People
yeah.
have
Like
those
I
thoughts
would
once in a while, whether
I
you
would
want to
throw it
admit
all
it.
away right now.
Yeah, whether you want to admit it, you're
Exactly.
not gonna do it. Hopefully not. Shit. But people have those thoughts, and once in a while, whether you like it or not, it happens. It crosses your mind. Like, you could be at a bank in line or something, and you see some dude. It's like, man, I would just fucking smash that dude's face with a hammer.
Oh,
I mean,
fucking
no
every day.
reason. It's just,
Anytime I'm driving,
oh
I
yeah,
become the worst. I become the
yeah.
worst fucking person to exist.
Yeah, my I live in Tennessee now. My inner New Yorker comes out. You get these people that drive like shit and
What
cut you
part of New
off. They
York
use
are you
blinkers.
from?
Off Long Island. originally?
I'm from upstate. I'm from Saratoga, so
Oh yeah, I used to live upstate too, so I live close to like Cooperstown, like about an hour from Albany. I used to live near there.
everyone's like,
Um,
"Oh, you're from the city." I'm like, "No, there's literally it's as rural as Arkansas."
yeah,
People don't realize you go far enough up north, they get their guns back, so it
yeah,
gets real crazy.
people don't think there's like country in New York because they're like, wait, there's
Oh
a
yeah,
countryside in New York. It's like there's countryside to every state, but yeah, New
it's
York's
Canada's rednecks. Like that's how
yeah,
rural it is right there.
like you got the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York, man. And, I'm actually going with some friends. They're playing a show. It's that Capital Carnage tour, I think, and it's in Syracuse. So I haven't been over in that area since I was a kid. So that'll be
That's
cool.
an area that I've wanted to play for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know anything about Syracuse other like my favorite band is Earth Crisis and
yeah,
they are from Syracuse. So
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I don't know anything about it, but I want to play there.
Or like I think Skinless is from Troy, and
Yeah.
they're that's close. That's like Troy is pretty much Syracuse. It's like right there.
It's
Um,
like the city over.
yeah, yeah. There was a band. Oh, what was it? Burning Human. They were from there, and I think was it Jason Bittner that's from there. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that Troy's sick, man. But I haven't been there in so long, so that'd be cool.
There's a lot of cool music from that area.
Yeah, yeah. Very untapped, I think. But when you realize some of the bands, you're like, oh shit, cool. Where's that? Like it's in upstate. It's rural, man. There's Amish people and shit, and it's all kind
Oh, you
of
gotta drive through the
crazy.
woods to get to some of these cities. People don't realize that.
Yeah, it's like, but it's cool. You moved from Long Island when I was a city kid, then I moved to upstate New York. It's the exact opposite. So I got to, four wheeling and taking care of horses and goats and shit and going to the farm to get your, milk and cheese and
Yeah.
eggs. You're living the complete other side. So it's kind of cool. Knoxville's a little bit of both here in Tennessee. It's very city, but also you take a right and it's country. So it's kind of nice. But yeah,
It's a
back
cool,
to
I like Knoxville. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, it is cool. And everyone loves Gatlinburg, so it's pretty close to there. So, stop by Knoxville. There's plenty to do here. But yeah, uh back to talking about death. And really
Sorry about
surviving
that
it.
tangent.
No, 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 it's cool. This just conversation, love doing it. It's my favorite thing. Why I still do it to this day. I took a little break from my other podcast and kind of fell apart very quickly. So took a little break and then I came up with this idea and here we are. So I think I love just talking with people. It's fun. Um, but yeah, to be able to survive that, like, did you even have like really like a light flash before your eyes thing, or was it just so fast that was it? You were just
Oh, are you talking about with the car wreck?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So literally it was I was awake the entire time. So like I never
Yeah,
like passed out or anything.
right.
And what was crazy is everyone's like, you weren't wearing your damn seatbelt. You should have been wearing your seatbelt. And the thing is I had just picked up food
Yeah,
for work,
yeah.
and we had Thai food, and
Hmm.
curry fell out of my front seat into the floor, started pouring out.
Oh,
I took my seatbelt off to grab it, and literally within like that moment of
yeah.
that's when I got hit. But like I stayed awake the entire time,
Hmm.
and then literally I just remember like counting in my head, like, holy fuck, one,
Yeah.
two, three, four. And then all of a sudden I just felt like the trajectory of, because I didn't even go out the windshield. I went out the sunroof.
Oh shit.
So like I felt my body just slam right into the sunroof.
Yeah.
And the reason is because that's a different type of glass than the windshield. The windshield, you hit it and it just like
Yeah. It's
spider webs and
yeah.
stays intact.
Hmm.
Dude, it threw me out, but it threw me at a projection. So whenever the car was flipping, it threw me,
Hmm.
landed on me, and drugged me. And so I stayed awake the entire time. And they said that was probably one of the things that kind of kept me as safe as I was. Because I said the problem is when people pass out, they just become rag dolls. And so your
Yeah.
body, you're not bracing anything.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, they were like, if you have been wearing your seatbelt, neither one of your driver's side airbags went off.
Yeah.
They're like, every airbag in the car went off
Hmm.
except for my side here and my steering wheel one. So there's like, honestly, you probably could have been in worse condition if you had been wearing your seatbelt. So it's like
Yeah.
a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
But so I was awake the whole time and it happened so fast that it was just like, I knew I wasn't dead,
Yeah.
but I knew like I push off And then I'm just laying there for a second, and like this nurse, literally a nurse drives up and just gets out of her car. I'm trying to get up, and she literally puts her foot on my chest, and she's like, "You're not getting up."
Yeah.
And so she's like, "What's the phone number to your contact? Who can I call?" And so like the whole time I'm just having a conversation. Like at no point was I like incoherent. I was just like, "Hey, call my wife. Here's her phone number." And of course, like I hear my wife screaming through
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
phone, and
Hmm.
she's like, "Is she okay?" I was like, "Let me talk to her." And she's like, "You don't need to talk to anybody. You just need to lay here." And then
Yeah.
the ambulance pulls up, and then I just like stand up and they're like, "No, you need to lay back down while
Hmm.
we like examine you."
Yeah.
The worst part about getting in a wreck is they cut all your fucking clothes off. Like they're
Yeah. Yeah.
investigating everything. So I'm like middle of lunchtime on a busy road, almost naked,
Yeah.
and just traffic's done now.
Yeah.
And so after they do all that, they're like, "Hey, can you stand up?" And I stood up, and they're like, "Can you walk?" And then I just walked to the ambulance, and they're
Yeah.
just like, literally, the dude is like, "What the fuck?" Like I'm looking at your car, I'm
Yeah.
looking at you covered in blood, like
Mm.
head to toe. This makes no sense. But I never had this moment of just like flashing ahead of me. And I don't know if it's because I'm not a religious person. I don't know
Right.
if it's
Right.
like because of just I didn't know what to really think about in that moment. It was just like literally one of the things I thought about was like, fuck, dude, my coworkers aren't getting their lunch. And it's just like I'm thinking about all the wrong things.
Yeah.
And I call I call at work. I'm like, "Hey guys, I don't know if I'm gonna be back in today. Can you all call my clients and cancel?" And they're like, "What do you mean you're not gonna be back in?" And I was like, "I might, I don't know." And the ambulance driver was like, "You're not going back to work, buddy. You're
Yeah.
going to the hospital." And like all my friends are like, "This is a joke." But it's just like it wasn't. And I get to the hospital and it's just kind of from that point on, it's
Mm.
just like I really never had that moment. And I think it was more of a when I got to the hospital, that's when I kind of had that like moment of like,
Yeah.
fuck, I like almost did not make it home today. Like I
Yeah.
would not have ever seen my children again. I wouldn't have seen this. And it's just like,
Yeah.
and that's a part that you don't think about. And I think that's a part that like, I don't want to seem like so manly that I can't talk about the emotional side of that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially like, I get it. This is a podcast about death metal and things like that. But there were just
Yeah.
like, there was definitely some emotional things that it was just like once I finally realized I was going to be okay and I could process it,
Yeah.
that's when all the emotion hit. That's when it was
Yeah.
just like I should be dead right now.
Hmm.
And like the doctors are literally telling me you should be dead right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
And like,
fuck.
how do you handle that information? I mean,
uh
it's devastating, to know like how close you came, but also like,
they gave me the actual statistic for it. They
yeah.
said that 85% of people ejected from a vehicle die.
Yeah.
85.
I mean,
And they
that's not
said
even
of
including
that
sunroof, like any
and
other
they said
things.
of that 15% that survive it, less than 1% of them walk away. And so like they're like saying like you are a less than 1%
Yeah.
anomaly right now.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's
just
for
like,
real.
that's cool. But at the same time, it's very difficult. And it's like,
Yeah.
I remember the hardest part about going through something like that was after I got home and you have to hear everyone's calling, everyone's
Yeah.
texting, everybody's, "I'm
Which,
so happy you're okay. I'm
yeah.
so happy you're okay." And dude, I was so far from okay.
Yeah.
I was so far from okay. Like mentally, I was just like,
Yeah.
I should be dead.
Hmm.
And then like I think the part that made it worse is like so I've been straight edge for like fucking like ever, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
It's
like
good.
they're giving me all these medications that I've never taken before, and they're
Yeah.
fucking me up so bad. And I understand I
Yeah.
need to take them, so I'm not that edge lord that's like, "Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
suffer through this. Pain is life." And I'm like, no, fuck no. Give
Yeah.
me whatever I can to feel like a normal person.
There's exceptions to it if you're.
And so I would just like the walls started talking to me. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, 2 weeks later, I went back to work. I was
Mm.
fucking limping. I couldn't walk. But I was like, I bought a chair to sit in as I cut hair because I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And the first day I got back to work, I had to hear a client say he lost a 16-year-old daughter to a drunk driver. She had just gotten her permit.
Mm.
And so I'm like, all these emotions I had about more morality around like,
Yeah.
why am I still here? And then I
Yeah.
come and I'm like, holy shit, this little child almost
Yeah.
lost her life and I got to live. And
Mm.
this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And so again, everyone's like, I'm so happy you're doing great. I'm so
Right.
happy you're doing good. And it's like, dude, it was the farthest from good I think I'd ever been in my entire life
Yeah. Yeah.
because I was just battling these emotions of like, I cheated death.
Yeah.
Should I have cheated death?
Right.
And it's just like looking back, I'm like, I'm fucking very happy I'm here.
Yeah.
But there was times where it was just like, man, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. I don't
Yeah.
know if I want to live like this.
Right. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm very fucking happy I'm here.
Yeah.
But
Same
it's a
here,
it's a
man.
very difficult it's a very fucking difficult thing to navigate.
Yeah, for sure. And is it something you kind of overcame and it's kind of in the back of your head, or do you like struggle with that stuff now? Or have you kind
So
of
I don't necessarily struggle with it anymore.
it's good.
And it might just because it's not something I talk about a lot. I think
Yeah, yeah.
it's something that happened to me. I'm a firm believer that like the labels you are in life are not who you are.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
part of you,
Hmm.
but there's so many people that are like, I went through trauma, and so now my entire personality is woe is me.
Yeah, yeah.
And my whole thing is that bad shit's happening all the fucking time,
Yeah.
all over the world. I am no exception to this. Like I
Yeah.
don't. It's not that I don't deserve to be able to talk about it,
Right.
but there's so much other shit that's so much worse.
Yeah.
And so it's not something I that's really a thought much anymore. I will say I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you saw the teaser we put out for the record,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there were some pictures of me from the
Yeah.
car wreck, the picture of my car, and like that was the first time I looked at that stuff since it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be fucking honest, that shit fucking made me
Yeah.
tear up because it was just like,
I bet.
and I don't know if it was more the emotion of seeing the car wreck or more of seeing the adversity that I went through
It's probably
to
a little
put
bit
out
of
this
both.
record,
Yeah,
to put
absolutely.
out the record. And it was
Yeah.
just kind of an accumulation of like, fuck, I went through that so that we could get to here.
Yeah.
It's kind of come full circle at this point.
Yeah. And people think of it in religious ways or whatever, or you can think it's just a coincidence or it's a you got lucky. Um, I'm more of a spiritual person, not really a religious person at all, but I do think things do happen for a reason in a weird way.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
things get set in motion with you know like things that happen. So I think in a crazy way that was maybe supposed to happen. I don't know. Like
Oh, I'm a firm believer. So, I mean, and
yeah,
like, here's the thing, I'm not Christian religious or anything.
yeah, me either.
I don't necessarily believe in anything at all. I think that we're
Right.
here for a short period of time and
Yeah.
do what you fucking can.
Yeah, for a good time,
Whatever
not a
makes you
long
lay your
time.
head, whatever
Yeah.
fucking makes you lay your head down at night, do it.
Right.
But I believe that even people that are like not religious understand that there's like a spirituality in life.
Absolutely.
And just like, I'm a firm believer that everything that happens is meant to happen
Yeah,
because
me too.
for the fact that we can't fucking change it.
Yeah.
It's like everything in life, like it comes down to an exact moment. And I think that like
Yep.
there's definitely times in life where everyone can look back and be like, damn, if I had done this differently,
Yeah.
then this catastrophic thing would have happened. Or
Yeah.
like, hey, if I had done this, this would have happened.
Like a
And so it's like,
butterfly effect thing. Yeah.
exactly. So I think that definitely there's a huge difference between the spirituality and
Yeah. And
and the religious spirituality.
yeah. And I think, time is a human concept. It's made up. There is no real time, but the earth is constantly rotating and the stars around it and shit. So I think
Exactly.
just like that's how things are set in motion. Matter and energy and atoms are moving around as the earth does and as we coexist with other organisms and shit like that doing the same processes, but it's all a cycle. It's all a circle. So that's why history repeats itself. Things kind of seem the same
Oh, no,
sometimes.
no
It's
shit. And even when
we're
you think
we're
about
in that.
that,
Yeah. So I
it's
think
like
things are meant to happen
everything that,
because that's the way that we're that's like
oh,
what
yeah.
we're living in is
Oh,
a
yeah. Like even just the
constant
trajectory of Earth,
rotation.
it's like
Yeah.
if this was any different, things would be fucking catastrophic. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is fucking happening because it's meant to happen.
Yeah, and it's not like I think it seems random because we can't plan our own, like random things to happen, like they just happen. But I think those things aren't necessarily planned, but it's just the way that the universe works and throws things at you to where this is the next step in my life, and this is how things are going to be set in motion. And unfortunately,
For sure.
a lot of times I've had huge emotional growth in my life is when I've faced tragedy or loss or like serious like trauma, and it's like it's helped me. They've been a huge pivotal points in my life that were like the hardest parts, the darkest parts, but I'm still here, and it made me like such a stronger person and more prepared for the next
Oh, yeah.
crazy thing, at least
Well, I
mentally,
mean,
because you can't really prepare for anything like that ever, even
well, and
if,
that was like a whole thing with me, like getting off of medications and things like that, and
yeah,
like understanding that, like, yo, like you're allowed to be depressed at times, you're allowed to experience anxiety. Like these are evolutionary traits. Design
yeah,
like anxiety is designed to keep you from doing dumb shit that will kill you. Like straight
exactly.
up, and it's like, why would I want to get rid of all that? And there was a time in my life where I needed to cut back on it a lot because it was affecting me in ways that I was almost unfunctional.
Yeah,
But once I learned how to manage those emotions and things like that, it was like, fucking, hey, and you're right. I mean, the trauma that we go through in life, it's like, whether it's good or bad, because I believe they both exist. You might have different words for them, but
yeah,
it's just like, man, like you said, it's like, if something happened, we were meant to go through it. It just
yeah,
fucking makes you stronger or it
mhm,
doesn't.
yeah,
It's up to
exactly.
you on what you want to do with that.
Yeah. Well, I know we're running out of time here, unfortunately, but uh, Echoes of the Devil's Den, Terminal Nation. It's out now, $20 spin. Uh, do you guys got shows coming up?
So we have a little run set up with another band from Arkansas called Morbid Visions.
Love
We're
Morbid
playing
Visions, man.
a
Hell yeah.
fest out in Colorado Springs, June 1st. We're playing a couple shows on the way out there, Oklahoma, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Sick.
We have a album release scheduled later on in the month of June. We're going to be doing some dates around that, and then there's a couple tours. We've never been a tour band, but I think we're finally starting to become a yes band, and we have some big stuff. We have some big stuff planned for the end of this year, beginning of next year. So we're excited.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, yeah, once again, I really appreciate you sharing your story, and glad you're safe and you're
Oh yeah.
okay. And be safe on the road when you guys play. Album's fucking sick. If you guys haven't heard it, check it
Sorry we
out.
didn't talk about the album more. I guess
Oh no, it's
you just
fine. We
start
can
talking, you
always
start talking, and it's fucking.
we can always do that. Get you for a track by track, and we'll do another one for sure. If you're open to that. But
Oh, anytime, man. Just
yeah, dude.
you know how to get in contact. I'll be more than
Yeah,
happy to come back on and
fuck
talk
yeah.
more about the album.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Chase, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for
Awesome.
opening
Thank
up
you,
and
man.
talking.